Hello, welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 11, Percentage Context. Learning objectives for this lesson is to be able to understand and solve problems about commission, interest, markups, and discounts. So in our last lesson, we talked about tips and taxes. Today we're going to talk about another form of percentages that are used in the real world, in the form of interest, commission, and we've kind of already talked about markups and discounts, but we're going to spend a little bit more time on that as well. Let's take a look at the first activity. So for this one, it says, which of these expressions represent a 15% tip on a $20 meal, and which of them represent the total bill? So let's go ahead and analyze each of these expressions. So the first one says 15 times 20. Now, this would be okay if we turn 15, if we took it out of percentage form. So because the 15 was not taken out of percentage form, it doesn't really represent the situation. So remember, we always have to convert when we have a percentage, we always have to take it out of percentage form by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. Let's look at the second one. So this one shows the multiplication of 0.15 times 20. So that is going to be the taken out of percentage form. And it takes that amount and adds it to the original amount of 20. So we know that this is going to represent the total bill. For the next one, it says 1.15 times 20. So if we analyze the 1.15, that's really 115%. And that 115% comes from the 100% of the original bill, and then plus the 15% with the tip. So this one also represents total bill. Okay, third one says 15 over 100. If we were to take 15 over 100 and write it as a decimal, that would be 0.15. So it's really saying 0.15 times 20, which in this case would only calculate the tip. It doesn't calculate the total bill because it didn't add it to the bill. This is just talking about the tip. All right, so just remember tip versus total bill. Tip is if you were just to take the percentage time the cost of the meal. But if you wanted the total bill, you'd then have to take into consideration, you have to add that back to the cost of the meal as well. All right, let's take a look at the next activity. So in this activity, it says the car dealership pays a wholesale price of $12,000 to purchase a vehicle. The car dealership wants to make a 32% profit, so you have 2 questions for that. Then it says during a special sales event, the dealership offers a 10% discount off the retail price. After the discount, how much will the customer pay for the vehicle? So just remember, discount, this is kind of like if you were paying sale price, right? So if we were talking about percent increase or decrease, this would be a decrease situation. And the word markup, right, is also being used. And remember, markup is what companies do when they purchase items. They mark it up, and then they come up with what the retail price is. So this situation would represent an increase. So go ahead, answer those 2 questions, and then once you're done, restart the video. All right, so let's go ahead and figure out question A. So it says, by how much will they mark up the price of the vehicle? So if they want to make a 32% profit, we know that they have to take 32% of the price of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with our old versus new strategy. But again, if you don't need that strategy, you didn't have to use it. So our old was the 100%, which was also the $12,000. The new is the 32%, and we don't know what that amount is. So to figure out what my constant proportionality is, I'm going to do 32 over 100, which is 0.32. So I know I'm going to be multiplying by 0.32. Now 12,000 times 0.32 is 3,000 $3,840. So this would be how much they're marking up. This is not the retail price, right? This is what we need to add on to the retail price. This is just the markup. Question B says, what will the retail price be? So now that we know what the markup is, all we would have to do is add that 12,000 to the 3,840 to get $15,840. So we know the retail price will be $15,840. Okay, question 2 says, during a special sales event, there's a 10% discount. So they want to know, after the discount, how much will the customer pay for this vehicle? So they want to know, what is the sale price? Okay, so again, if I use my old versus new strategy, my old is the 100%, which is also the 15,840. My new, if they're getting 10% off, that means they are paying 90%. So figure out my constant of proportionality. I'm going to do 90 over 100, which is 0.9. So I am going to multiply by 0.9. Now 15,840 times 0.9 is 14,256. So just remember that you have to think about what you're trying to calculate when you're deciding on your percentages for the old versus new. For question A here, we just wanted to know the markup amount, which is why we use 32%. But if we wanted to go straight to the retail per price, we could have also multiplied by 1.32. So for example, if I said there was a 12% markup, and the question is, what is the retail price? When I set up my table of old versus new, I'm not going to use 12%. I'm going to use 112% because the retail price takes into consideration the original amount. The markup price doesn't take that into consideration. It's just how much are we marking it up. Okay, which is why over here, we weren't trying to figure out how much they were saving. We were trying to figure out how much they were actually going to pay. So if you're saving 10%, you are paying 90%. So you need to really think about these word problems and ask yourself, what percentage do I need to use? If you kind of just take the numbers in the problem and not really think about it, you're going to be setting up the problem incorrectly. So as you do these word problems, stop and think about what the question is asking you. So if the question in this case was asking you, how much will they pay? Then ask yourself, well, am I paying 10%? Or am I paying 90%? And then that's the number you're going to use in the chart. All right, let's move on to the third activity. So for this activity, we are now talking about commission. Now, this might be a new vocab word for you, but just so you know, commission, oops, two M's, is money earned by salespeople. So money earned by salespeople. So sometimes people who work for places that sell items, they earn a certain percentage of commission. So for example, people who sell cars, they make a percentage off of what the amount of the vehicle that they sold. So obviously the higher the vehicle costs, then the more money they make. There's other places that do commissions as well. Some retail stores do it. I think Best Buy does it sometimes. There's also, for example, in this case, we're talking about gym memberships. So sometimes people who sell gym memberships get a commission off of that. So just so you know, commission means money earned. So the people are earning this amount of money. So as you read these two questions, I want you to think really hard about what the question's asking you. Utilize the 3-read strategy where you read it the first time, think about what the problem's just generally talking about, read it again, pull out the important information, and then read it a third time and ask yourself, well, what am I going to do to solve this? So go ahead, pause the video, and attempt these two problems. All right, so for question 1, it says, for each gym membership sold, the gym keeps $42 and the employee who sold it gets $8. What is the commission the employee earned as a percentage of the total cost of the gym membership? So if that was my first read, I would tell myself, okay, we're talking about a person, an employee who earns money by selling gym memberships. Okay, I'm going to read it again. And as I read it this time, I'm going to pull out the important information. So for each gym membership sold, the gym keeps $42. So this is the amount the gym makes. And the employee who sold it gets $8. So this is what the employee gets. What commission the employee earned, what is the commission the employee earned as a percentage of the total cost? So my unknown in this case, because that's important to do, notify or to take note as well. So in this case, we're talking about percentage. So we know that we are going to be calculating a percent in this case. I'm going to read it one more time. So for each gym membership, for each gym membership sold, the gym keeps $42 and the employee who sold it gets $8. What is the commission of the employee earned as a percentage of the total cost of the gym membership? So if I think about what my strategy is, and we've kind of been utilizing the table strategy, but you don't have to utilize it. I know I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that because it's been very helpful. So the first thing I notice is that I need the total cost of the gym membership, which is not provided to me. So to figure that out, I know if the gym keeps $42, the employee gets $8, I'm going to have to add those two together to get $50. So this would be the total cost for the membership. So if I'm utilizing my table strategy, my 100% is my old. I don't know my new percent. My cost is $50 and the employee makes $8. So from here, what I'm going to do is try to figure out what my constant proportionality is. So I'm going to do y over x, which is 8 divided by 50, which is 0.16. So I know I am multiplying by 0.16. 100 times 0.16 is 16%. So that means that the commission is 16%. So some key things to remember here, because it uses those words, total cost of the gym membership, you need to make sure you're using that number. I'm going to guess that quite a few of you use the number 42 instead of the number 50. Really think hard about what you're trying to figure out. Read the words carefully and connect everything back to the problem. So if you did use 42 instead of 50, that's okay. Just make the changes and fix the problem. Okay, question 2. If an employee sells a family pass for $135, what is the dollar amount of the commission they get to keep? So we know that the commission is 16%. Now, if you used 42 in the previous problem, that means you obviously did not use 16%. Obviously, copy and correct the correct way to do it. But if your strategy matches my strategy, or doesn't even have to match, but if you kind of set up the problem the same way, that's okay. That's good. That means that if you had the correct percentage, you would have gotten the answer correct. So I don't want you to stress about it too much, but please make any changes if you didn't have the correct percentage. So I'm going to continue to use the old versus new strategy. So again, we have 100%. Since I'm trying to figure out the amount of the commission they get to keep, my percentage is just going to be 16%. I'm not going to use 116% because they don't get to keep the $135 plus an additional amount. They only get to keep 16%. From here, I know it's $135 for my original amount, but I don't know what it is that the employee gets. So let's go ahead and figure out our constant of proportionality. So 16 over 100 is 0.16. So I'm going to multiply by 0.16. And then 135 times 0.16 is 21.6. So that means the employee would get $21.60. Remember, a proper way to write dollar amounts is we have to have two numbers after the decimal, so we just add a 0 after the 6. So I know the strategy we've been using of the old versus new is a good strategy. It's great visually, but I do want to present another strategy when you're trying to figure out commission. Another way you can do that is instead of setting up the table, you could just say that the commission is going to be equal to the rate. So this is your percentage times the, we'll say, total cost of the item. So in this case, our commission would have been 0.16 times $135, which is the $21.60. So in this lesson, we looked at that idea of commission, which is money earned by salespeople. We looked at more discounts. We looked at a little bit of tax and tip, and we looked at markups as well. These are all things that we will encounter in life, and it's important that you know how to figure this out. Remember, when you're reading these word problems, you really need to think carefully about what you're solving for and make those connections to the strategy that you're using. So we're not always necessarily figuring out the markup amount. Sometimes we're just finding the percent of a number. So that's it for this lesson. Make sure you submit for points and go ahead and get started on your cool down. Thanks for watching.